Michael Magaro.
Right.
You'll be presenting her testimony, is that correct?
Right.
Great. Welcome to the panel.
Hello. My name is Michael Magaro. I've been a letter carrier for 13 years. I work at Creston Station in Southeast Portland. I deliver mail in the Woodstock area. I'll be reading a letter from Carol Bowles. Dear Mr. Cook, I'm writing to you as a very concerned United States Postal Service customer. Over the past 6 months or so, the service I've been receiving has been less than satisfactory. In fact, I would go so far as to say that it has eroded to the point of complete and utter disrepair. I am concerned for several reasons. Selfishly, I am concerned as a customer. I can no longer rely on the United States Postal Service to deliver my mail on a regular and timely basis. Why, you might ask? It is my understanding that my regular mail carrier, Jeff, is on medical leave and will file his retirement papers soon. I understand that people will become ill and unable to perform their jobs. However, it seems to me as a consumer that the United States Postal Service would then replace my carrier with an employee who would be able to deliver my mail in a timely manner on a regular schedule. I think that as an agency that is publicly owned, it is imperative that these replacements happen in a timely manner. Currently, we have approximately 3 to 4 different carriers who all seem to feel differently about the various dogs who live on our short block. On any given day, I might receive my mail anytime between 9 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. This seems very unreasonable to me. Why? Because I have come to understand that some of the carriers who have been assigned portions of Jeff's route do not care for dogs, but given the inconsistency of timing of the delivery by whom it might be delivered, it makes it practically impossible to monitor. I feel that there is an even larger issue here, and it is one of staffing. Why hasn't the Postal Service replaced Jeff with a regular carrier? Even if it were a temporary assignment, who would then be able to deliver his entire route, not split up into 3 or 4 parts, so that those of us on the receiving end would know what time to expect our mail. Dogs would be inside, doors shut, mail delivered every day, same time, same place. I don't think that's asking too much. I just really want my mail delivered to my house. I could choose to have all my bills come to me via the internet, read my magazines in line, and forego all services that the Postal Service has to offer. I feel that is one of the most important things here. The Postal Service is offering the consumer a service and currently not doing a very good job at it. If this type of service continues, sadly there will be no future letter carriers, which has an economic impact well beyond one person's paycheck. It also has ramifications yet unseen. I implore you to work diligently to repair the system before it is too late and your customer base leaves you for the myriad of alternative methods of sending mail. And she just signs it, sincerely, Carol Bowles.
Michael, thank you very much for reading that compelling testimony. We next bring up John Stubenball of the Oregon Food Bank. And while he's coming up, I want to give some praise to my long-term letter carrier, Liz Tyner, who has been carrying our mail for years in North and Northeast Portland, and then
she transferred.
Yeah, and now we're kind of we have people covering, and we see a lot of the same kinds of issues.
You have a vacant route.
Yeah, we have a vacant route, so we never know when our mail's going to come because we never have the same person coming every day. John, come on forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, panelists. My name is John Stubenball. I'm the Director of Advocacy for Oregon Food Bank. Thank you for inviting me this evening. I'd like to give a perspective on the proposal that we're discussing this evening that's a little different. As folks are well aware, we're in the midst of an unprecedented economic decline. Most of us have not seen in our lifetimes. The Great Recession has really taken a toll on working people in this country and in Oregon. We see people every day at an Oregon Food Bank member agency that we've never seen before. Working people who've worked their entire lives, who've been hit hard by this Great Recession of ours. And those are folks, frankly, who for the most part have not been represented by a labor union. those tend to be the people we're seeing, the working people we're seeing for the first time at Oregon Food Bank. And what we fear at Oregon Food Bank of the proposal before us this evening is the cutbacks in Saturday service. For 18 years now, Oregon Food Bank and food banks across the country have been privileged to partner with the National Association of Letter Carriers on what has become the largest one-day food drive in our nation's history. And last year alone, for example, this food drive collected more than 77 million pounds of food to serve underprivileged Americans throughout the country. In Oregon alone, Branch 82 of the National Association of Letter Carriers alone brought in more than 1.7 million pounds of food last year alone. That's unprecedented. And just to give a little context around that number, last year, in the entire year, Oregon Food Bank distributed about 38 million pounds of food. 1.7 million of that came from Branch 82 activities on a one-day Saturday food drive. That's the importance of this Saturday service to feeding the hungry and throughout the country. So I just wanted to add the voice of the hungry, the disadvantaged in Oregon, and call out thanks to the National Association of Letter Carriers to their service to the community in Oregon and across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, John. Next up, I would like to bring forward the unofficial mayor of North Portland, Mr. Paul Knowles Sr.
Thank you very much, Jim. He did say unofficial that I am. So everyone will know why I got that name. Roy J. is with the African American Chamber. One day he came in and says, "I'm gonna make you the mayor." I said, "What? You're the mayor of Northeast Portland." So the news media got it, everybody got it, even Chip got it. So that's how the name came about. Thank you very much for the invitation. Business person in Portland for over 40 years. Saturday mail delivery is very, very important. It can really turn a weekend around for you. If that check comes on Saturday, people start to spend. If there's a holiday on Monday, now there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then it's Tuesday before they can actually get around. But by then, the money is usually taken up. So I would certainly like to see Saturday deliveries continue. And Jamie being my mail carrier, been there for years. Jamie know that I have a sign in my window saying, "Beware of dog." But I don't have a dog. But Jamie knows that, but the new guy don't. So now when I get my prescriptions delivered, to my wife and I's prescriptions delivered, they're put on the front porch. Instead of Jamie takes it around, or the other ones that really know, they take it around to the back porch. So we need the regular delivery people. We need Saturday delivery. We need to make sure that the people that really need those checks that's coming on Saturday, they need them, and we need to continue the Saturday service. Thank you.
I'd like to bring forward another very important business person in Northeast Portland, Gloria McMurtry, regarding irregular delivery and post office closure. And for those of you who might not know, she's the proprietor at Reflections Coffee. Ms. McMurtry.
Good evening, panelists, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. As Senator Shields has said, I'm a business owner in Northeast Portland, and the location of the post office itself is really important to my business because not only the employees are there, but also the people that come from the post for their services at the post office are important because my shop is only a block from the post office. Saturday's deliveries are important to me, as Paul said, they're important to every business owner. And also, having somewhat of a personal relationship with my carrier because as business owners, sometimes we require little special favors. And just knowing that your postal carrier is there and you can ask him some questions that might facilitate your day or things like that. So I implore you to, first of all, consider all the ramifications of your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurtry. Next up is William Bolu regarding irregular delivery. Mr. Bolu, welcome to the panel.
Good evening. As a small business owner in Portland, Oregon, and as somebody who's as a small business owner in Portland, Oregon, as somebody who's done business in Portland for most of the last 20 years, I've depended on the US Post Office, its carriers, and their regular service, both for my business documents coming and going, and even more importantly for the products that I produce. The supplies that I receive, I can oftentimes get locally, but when I'm sending them out, I have to have somebody who gets them there, who gets them to the customer directly so that I know that they are being received. I oftentimes have been employed to do commission art. That's something that is a one of a kind. There's no two. Doesn't matter how hard I try, we'll never make a second one, which means that disappears. That's it. That means that to depend on the US Post Office, I'm depending on them to get something through that is almost as precious as a child. That is something that I can't say of any other service. Their carriers' regular service, their carriers' distance. I can go anywhere in the US with a postal carrier. They take that to my customer's door in a way that is unmatched. Even today with the rollbacks, with cutbacks of service, I still reach a wider area than any other carrier is willing to provide. It is my opinion as a business owner that keeping the post office, keeping it strong, keeping its carriers going to the best of our ability are two of the best ways of stimulating and continuing business in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolu, for that testimony. We really appreciate it. Colleagues, next we will start to go into the topic of working conditions, and we've got about 9 people who will be presenting on working conditions. Could we please bring up Sue Canfield? Ms. Canfield, welcome to the panel.
Hi. Hi, my name is Sue Canfield, and I have been a letter carrier for over 27 years and have delivered to a variety of businesses in 3 different states. Over the last 5 years, I have watched the level of service diminish with no end in sight. The Postal Service has taken service from its name and replaced it with business, a growing epidemic in this country. In my small postal community of Newburgh, mandatory overtime has been rampant for a very long time, since the day I arrived in 1994. Small post offices that the community relies on suffer the most. They have less employees to draw from when mandatory overtime strikes. The constant cycle of pivoting routes, that is breaking up a vacant route and giving many carriers a piece of the route on a daily basis, takes a toll on the business customer. When the regular is not there, the substitute quite often is required to prepare other routes before preparing and delivering the business route. Late mail delivery to business patrons is noticed. Management says they care about maintaining a service level, but the numbers game and the non-existence of proper staffing rule. A joint union management program called Customer Connect is a program designed for the employees to help generate revenue for the Postal Service. We are the face that businesses see every day. Perfect for those that are not pressured by time to get done as quickly as possible so we can carry another piece of a route that is being pivoted. This has become business as usual. A recent response from one of my patrons that I was trying to entice using the Postal Service more was, "I won't know when to have these packages ready when you're not here." I fumbled a little with my answer and tried to assure her that we would take care of her. In the back of my mind, I was thinking, would my postmaster, who is flying in 5 different directions, trying to satisfy his boss with the right numbers, and which carrier he would be targeting for not maintaining a speedily performance, would really care about her comment? Sadly, I don't know if he would. As I wind down my career with the Postal Service, I have to ask, where will this organization be in another 5 years? If the staffing continues to decline, so will the service. It doesn't have to be that way. It's the law that we provide a public postal service to all its citizens in every community of America. We must fix the accounting problem the service faces and pass legislation in Congress as soon as possible. Then hire the staffing necessary to service all its patrons, and mandatory overtime would diminish immensely and service would improve dramatically to all our postal customers. Only then can we expand our products and once again become the US Postal Service that the public relies on.
Good evening to the distinguished panel. My name is Isham Harris, and I am a 34-year letter carrier with the United States Postal Service. The USPS, as we know it today, was first established in 1691 when the English government granted Thomas Neal a 21-year contract under the name of the North America Postal Service. The English government renounced their agreement 16 years later, and in 1701 they appointed a local deputy to the status of Postmaster General. By 1774, the colonists had reached their limits with their English Crown dictation. Frustration over the Postal Service was one of the lesser-known issues that prompted the colonists to seek their own independent government. In 1775, the Continental Congress created a post office department and appointed Benjamin Franklin as the first postmaster of that organization. Our frustration today in maintaining the postal trust, integrity, and good image is the perilousness of after-dark delivery. After-dark delivery presents an unsafe physical environment. Broken sidewalks, hanging tree bridges, crossing unlit streets after dark. Delivery presents an emotional, trepidatious, such as, will I, the carrier, be mistaken as a thief at night by the customer? The Postal Service is currently running an ambitious TV commercial to build revenue. This good TV commercial and the this good TV commercial and the 236 years of good postal tradition is being subverted by after-dark delivery. Let us return to civility, integrity, the good postal tradition, and the Hebrew scripture that states, let us work while it is day. When the night comes, no man can work.
Welcome to the panel.
Thank you. And thank you to my brothers and sisters all here tonight to support and stand strong together. May 2009 through December 2009, I continuously worked 6 days a week, up to 12 hours a day. That's because I transferred from Nebraska and I reported here as a PTF, and I didn't have a regular position. So they could make you work on your days off, and they could make you work unlimited hours. It was very difficult to take time off. Routinely, even medical appointments were denied. Although I had a podiatrist appointment in August, it was so highly discouraged that I waited until my scheduled annual vacation in December to see the doctor. At that time, it was determined that surgery was my only option. Physical therapy could have helped earlier, but excessive hours on my feet had eliminated that option. Dr. Gina Bullock was of the professional opinion that without a respite, the malformation of my foot accelerated exponentially. And if you want a visual, here. This is my foot. This is a pin that, while I was working, pushed its way out because I wasn't supposed to be on it, but I felt the pressure. So for about a month, I worked with a pin sticking out of my foot. These are 3 pins for toes. This is my ankle. It never has healed. I have 3 torn ligaments and a fractured ankle. And if you want to see the difference, this is what my foot should look like. This one, right here. So, I tore 3 ligaments and fractured my ankle. I had surgery, and I was pressured to return to work before my foot was healed, and subsequently re-injured it. Hurrying to accomplish my route, my ankle twisted, and now every day I have to ice my foot when I get home. And I asked the physical therapist, when can I expect it to be better? And he said, no, that's just what you do now. So that I face that. I mean, it's a foot, but you'd be surprised how much a foot impacts the rest of your body. As the postal deficit continues to climb, so does the distance the mail carrier must travel. According to Light Blue, the post office's own statistics, they have added 2.5 million addresses, but they haven't increased our time. The number of deliveries are increased every 6 months, and the time allotted to make the additional deliveries decreased. The United States Postal Service has attributed the diminished mail volume to the reduction in time given to perform the greater number of deliveries. Because their mathematical equation does not factor in the theory of diminishing returns, you can only gain so much. Okay. Anyway, it's a very hostile work environment. We're all pressured, and there's not a mail carrier in here who doesn't have an injury. Thank you.
Can I just ask you just to make sure that I understand? So the pin was coming out of your foot as you were still being required to work 6
Yes.
days a week, 12-hour days?
Yes, yes. I had no sympathy. I didn't have time. I could continue to go over to physical therapy, but it was a fight every day.
I don't know if we're going to have someone testify about it, but there's an all-out assault in the post office on people who are injured. They're trying to let them go, basically, and say, we don't have work for you. Whereas traditionally, like from when I started, and I don't know how long back it goes, they did always find limited duty. They would create a job of different functions that you could perform within the restrictions. They don't do that now. They don't want to do that. We're fighting it.
Thank you for those comments. Could we now bring up Anil Nath? We'll be talking about substandard working conditions and the need for career protection.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anil Nath, and I have been employed with the Postal Service as a transitional employee for about 3.5 years. Transition employment is all about lots of hope with no benefits and no future. Born and raised in Fiji Islands, being an Indian descent, as you know, that people from India were indentured servants in organized slavery who worked very hard with no benefit, no future, no hope. Very much like transition employees in Postal Service. During 3.5 years of my service, I have worked very hard in very extreme conditions of weather, been bounced around like a ping pong from station to station. And there have been situations that I was injured at work while still getting treatment. Postal Service tried to fire me. Thank goodness that I do have one benefit, that I belong to the Union of Letter Carriers, that not only got my job back, but they got my job back in days, so my thanks to them. And I hope Postal Service appreciate the hard work of transitional employees and keep the 6 days of delivery service so that people like us still have jobs, who not only support their family, people like me, I support my children and their college education. And my thanks. And keep the employment and keep the service for 6 days, so all the employees and the Postal Service benefit from it, and out of all the customers who deserve our very good service. Thank you.
We next bring up Robert Keys. Actually, Jamie Partridge may be.
No. Robert had to cancel out at the last minute because his wife went into labor. So I'm reading his testimony.
Some people do anything to get out of it.
They're building the labor movement, come on.
Robert is a transitional employee, as was the prior speaker. He says, I enjoy being a letter carrier. Carrying the mail, you become a part of the fabric of the community. After delivering Christmas gifts on the coldest, darkest nights to investing in summer lemonade stands, the Postal Service is just that, a service, and one that I am glad I can perform. I just hope they start hiring soon. As a 3-year TE, transitional employee, my position is filled with the stress of uncertainty. Will I be rehired at the end of my contract? Will I be transferred without notice to a station across town or to a different city altogether? Will my hours decrease? Will I be unable to afford health insurance? Will my time on this route be too long and I am disciplined or let go? The life of the TE is one without a net, one filled with stress, doubt, and worry. So you ask, why stay on the job? Mail carriers are a unique brand of people. We can smile through 6 hours of cold and wet. We enjoy the service we provide and seeing the lives we touch. This pride and joy in carrying is not confined to career employees. TEs are not hoping for the moon, but just a chance for the stability in a career we already proved we are capable of, and to fill the vacant routes we already carry. 3 years is a horribly long time to interview.
I am the wife of one of your hardworking T carriers at your Rose City station. He has been working faithfully for the past 3 years. No time off, no benefits, and afraid to call in sick for fear of being terminated. So I have been diligent in keeping him in good health so that we can continue to pay our bills. I'm truly grateful that he has a job that pays him well, but I am sad to know that it is only appreciated by a few. I'm sad because numbers are more important than the fact that he strives to give good customer service to people who should matter to all of us. I am one of the many that still appreciate real customer service. I still write letters, I still pay bills by mail, I still purchase postage stamps. I encourage my friends to do the same. Mail carriers are one of the few services that so far cannot be automated. They work hard, and it is a disgrace to their families that it is unappreciated by those who sit behind a desk and a computer. Maybe they view this work as menial or valueless. Why not try to do something to help others? There is so much value in that. Maybe they can learn something. Thanks so much for hearing my voice.
Very well done, Ms. Wesley. Thank you very much for your testimony. Next up, Mr. Steve Lem, who will be talking about the impact on family.
Good evening to our distinguished panel. I'm here reading on behalf of my wife who couldn't make it. The question is, what does mandated overtime do to families? Thank goodness our children are grown and it's just the two of us now. I don't know how children see much of a parent that's working for the post office. My husband leaves at 7 a.m. and doesn't usually return home until close to 7. Young children need to be in bed by 8 a.m. or 8 p.m., so that leaves 1 hour to visit with the kids and 2 hours for us. Dinner together as a family is next to impossible. Even for two of us, it usually doesn't happen. I leave for work at the same time as my husband, but I'm home by 4:30. Yet I work a 42 to 45-hour week. For medical reasons, I need to eat 3 hours before bedtime, so that means by 6. Many times we have to cook 2 totally separate meals because there are many meals that just won't reheat properly. Then there's time off, or maybe a vacation. I work a desk job and would like to be active on vacation and in the evening. My husband is exhausted from all the overtime and lack of days off to recuperate. His idea of a good time is to sit back in an easy chair. Wouldn't it make more sense to save the extra money paid as overtime and hire more employees? If an employee only worked 40 hours a week, he or she would be able to rest appropriately and therefore have more energy and a better attitude at work. Happy employees are generally more productive employees. It's easier to work harder if you know you'll have time to recover and heal. Overtime is a good way to cover unexpected staff shortages. Permanent long-term shortages are an indication you need to hire more bodies. Lastly, for permanent employees, it would make sense to me, he's a manager, to have them on a regular work week, Monday through Friday. There are many people that would love to work on Saturdays. That would give family time to your full-time employees and allow them to regularly have 2 days off consecutively so their bodies could heal and recover. This would also keep the service attitude that the post office has always exemplified. Sincerely, Kathy Lem.
Thank you, Mr. Lem, and thank you to Ms. Lem for that testimony that she wrote. Next up, Ken Wilson, impact on parenting.
Good evening. I want to thank the panel, first off, for taking time to listen to all of us here this evening. My name is Ken Wilson. I've been with the Postal Service for 26 plus years. I'm a letter carrier right now out at Oak Grove Station. Now, all of the different aspects about the working conditions that we're talking about tonight are important to me. But the most important is about my family. Or to be more specific, about the lack of time that I get to spend with my family because of the post office. Back before I got a job with the post office, my dad said that I should try and get a job with them. He knew what a good paying job it was and that you could get excellent benefits. He told me it's not the kind of job that I would love coming to every day, but it would provide for my family. And he was right. And for most of my 26-year career, I've been able to balance my job and my family responsibilities as a father, until the past couple of years. Working late most nights has kept me away from my family. Nights around the dinner table are scarce. Helping my kids with their homework is almost non-existent. I used to be the manager of my son's baseball team. The team could count on me to be there at every practice and every game to teach them what I knew. I was a respected member of the Little League community that other parents could rely on, but not anymore. Now, some other father coaches my son's team. I try to be there as much as I can to help out, but more often than not, I'll miss half of the practices or catch the last 2 innings of the game. It's really hard to sit there and listen to other parents tell you how good your son pitched at the beginning of the game when you weren't there. You know, some of you are probably thinking, big deal. We all make sacrifices these days. Times are tough. But time is the one thing that you don't get back. I wasn't there for my oldest son due to a divorce. I was responsible and I paid all of my child support, but all of that money couldn't make up for the time that I lost with him. He's having trouble now. He's coming home with report cards full of D's and F's from last term because I was unable to spend enough time with him. I failed my oldest son because I wasn't there for him. I don't want to do that with the rest of my family. I want to be there for them, but the post office is keeping me away from them with all of the mandatory overtime and working my day off because they won't hire enough people to do the job right. Alex, come here, buddy. This is my son, Alex, the pitcher. I want to be there for him while he's growing up. I want to be his father, and the post office is preventing me from doing that. I just want to be able to play catch with him. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. My name is Patty Olson. I'm the Director of Legislation for the American Postal Workers Union, Portland, Oregon, Area Local 128. But most importantly, I'm a window clerk at the airport branch in Portland here. I've been a window clerk for 10 years, a postal employee for going on 32 years. So I've worked all around from graveyard shift to day shift. I really do love my job as a window clerk. I enjoy waiting and helping customers with their needs, as do most window clerks. Unfortunately, with service cutbacks, that has meant staffing cuts. Long lines, shorter hours have had an impact not only on employees, but the customers as well. Customers are unhappy and the employees are frustrated. Park Grove Station, for example, has been so understaffed that at times they've had to put a notice on their door, closed for lunch. Many times clerks go without their breaks and have shortened lunch times and longer hours. Customers are so frustrated with the lack of service to mail their items, they end up going to our competitors and paying more for that service. Where is the service that binds this nation together? It is being closed. By that, I mean station and post office closures. Recently, a small but vital station in downtown Portland was closed, Solomon Station. It had replaced Pioneer Station, which was closed about 10 years ago. There will be over 2,000 station closures in the next few years, according to the Postal Service plan across the country. At this time, rumors are being spread by station managers at Creston and University Station here in Portland that their stations will be closing as well. Rumors do not help. It only increases the angst of the employees and the frustration to the customers. This also causes the Postal Service to lose their customer base. The branch and station post offices anchor many businesses. Activity generators, they are called. Many customers expand their activities, such as shopping and business, with their same trip to the post office. This makes the business district a more attractive location for retailers and other businesses. Local post offices that offer services within easy walking distance are important to sustainable land use as well. No automobiles. Walking distance to shops and the post office, such as University Station by Portland State University. College students and their residents and business depend on this station. The same is true in Eugene, Oregon. This campus post office was recently closed without any consideration to the impact of the many thousands of students on that campus. The students protested and submitted hundreds of signed petitions. Even in this age of computer, internet, and cell phones, these students needed that little two-person station, which generated quite a bit of revenue. This is a severe hardship for these students and the faculty. Easy transit does not exist, and obviously many students do not own cars. There is nothing within walking distance. Also, for lower income residents, the use of money orders to pay rent and utilities and other bills is an important service in the day-to-day life, and they need to have window services for their needs. Unlike those that have internet access and a higher income where that business may be done online, these folks do not have that option for their mailing needs. When you look at households with incomes of less than $20,000 a year, their options are limited. Approximately 35% of households with incomes less than $20,000 a year and 30% of households over the age of 65 do not have internet access. Those in retirement centers and assisted living rely on their neighborhood post office as well. Without neighborhood post offices, the customer is forced to go elsewhere and usually pays the higher price. My question is this: if there are those long lines in the post office, that means we have customers. So why are stations in the urban and rural areas being closed? I don't have an answer. What goes into that decision-making of closing a station? It is hard to say because there are no rules. As in the case in Eugene again, the Postal Service sent out a postcard to the customers at the University Station in Eugene. They sent this out in the month of August. August is when most of the customer base is on summer break. They're students. It's a college. Then for almost a year there was no public forum, and there never was a public forum or feedback. The station was closed to the surprise and frustration of the students this fall. Even though it did not have a window service, I'm sorry, I messed up here. The station was closed to the surprise and frustration of the students this fall. This is totally ridiculous. For example, here in the Portland area, Cherry Blossom DCU was closed. Even though it did not have a window service, the customers were able to pick up their packages and hold mail there. Now many of the customers are forced to drive to Parkrose Station or Lentz DCU, which is much farther away. The communities in these areas were notified of the change a week before it was implemented. No customer input. It would be wise for the Postal Service to consider impacts of a station closure on the community, making sure the community or the neighborhood does not bear an undue burden. These closures can have a significant impact on local businesses, which should be taken into consideration. A public forum should be held in the impacted neighborhood for community input. In my opinion, the profile of a postal station and branch closure does target communities with higher percentage of low-income residents. The Postal Service is more than a book of stamps. The post office is a public space that is central to the fabric of the community. I believe we, the Postal Service, has one purpose: service to the people of the United States. Without the Postal Service, there would have been no nation, only a scattering of settlements. We are the people's post office. Thank you so much.
Management in the post office, and I'd just like to know what kind of response you've gotten from your approach.
The problem that we face...
Would you mind coming forward?
Thank you. Part of the problem that we face is nationally we get a list of station closures like we did in 2009, and we protested those because we had the list. Unfortunately, we have not been told by the Postal Service or if they have made a decision as to what stations will be closed, but it's done pretty fast. So we will bring this up at Labor Management, we don't get an answer. That's pretty much how it works. And until we can have more of a fruitful and a more honest conversation with the Postal Service on closure, then maybe we could do something about it. But we do have to fight it. When we fought on the Brooklyn station, we got together, our local union got together with the neighborhood association and got the community involved, and that was stopped.
John?
I guess I should have a mic.
Yes.
Thank you. Hey, I have a question about the TE deal that I'm sure somebody can answer. I've seen a similar kind of thing in some other lines of work. My wife is a social worker, and many hospitals or medical centers like to try to have people as like on call, and that way they can avoid paying the benefits associated with hiring someone permanent. But one of the things that I see with nursing and with social work is that when they do that, they actually tend to pay a higher wage, kind of to make up for the difference. But they never string people along for years and years and years, in part because there's competition. You know, if you're, you know, working on call in one hospital, you're still applying for jobs at another hospital. It's not only one choice, and that's a big difference I see with this particular situation. But I would like to know, are the TEs actually paid more? No. Okay, well there you go. I mean, you know, that's something that's very different from the way the private sector is operating in this way. So thanks for that feedback.
Can I just follow up and ask another question about the transitional employees? Because I'm trying to figure out what they're transitioning to, because it seems like it's permanent. You know, some of the language of the testimony was really striking to me. That Anvil talked about a loss of hope and no future, and Robert Keyes about the life of one without a net. And I guess, is this just an endless, I guess I need to understand, is what's being created a permanent two-tier system of career employees and TEs, or is there some promise that this is going to end? Because again, what's it being transitioned to? What?
Thank you for the question. My name is Jim Cook. I'm president of the National Association of Letter Carriers Branch 82. We represent transitional employees, TEs. They are a second-class letter carrier, meaning they have no health benefits, and you may have heard that in testimony. They are on call, basically. They're not on the clock on call, but if they don't show up, that's a mark against them. As the transitional employees have put it, many of us in different jobs have been on probation for a period of time, what, 90 days usually? They're on probation every single day they work. So they're strung out over 360 days, they get a 5-day break, and then they're brought back with a contract. Unless, of course, they have an attitude, or, of course, they have a vehicle accident, which does happen, but that's the reason that they haven't brought them back as well. So these are people who are abused. We're trying to get our national negotiations, which are coming up this fall, to address this issue and convert them to career carriers. And that's one of the main purposes of this hearing, is to convert those who have been working for 3 or 4 years, who have proven themselves over and over daily that they should be hired. Thank you.
Well said, Jim. Thank you. Further questions? Sure.
Because I live on a vacant route, I sympathize with the carriers who come to my door, and I try to greet them when I'm there in a very cordial manner, because I know how they're struggling and trying to complete their routes. But it's really unfortunate that they can't take that time that our regular postal carriers would normally take to say even hello. So my question is to those who end up with pivot schedules. How much notice do you get in order for you to plan the rest of your day or your week or just your daily schedule?
As a carrier that's worked lots of 10-hour days and 6-day weeks, I get notified basically just as I walk out the door to deliver my own route.
Or when you come back.
Yeah.
Or
Later.
I'm instructed to call in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to find out if I have an extra hour or so to deliver on another route.
Or when you come back.
Or at 4 when I come off the stage and think that I'm going home, I get handed a section to carry on to 1 or 2 or several routes.
And what about the days off? How much notice is given for when you have a day off, you expect you're going to have a day off, and then they cancel that day off?
They can call me a half an hour before, or even up to 9 o'clock in the morning. We usually start at 7:30 in my station. They can call me as late as 9.
For that day?
For that day.
What happens at the last couple of stations I've worked at is that
Can you come up to the mic, please?
I can try. Is that, you know, we'll have a regularly scheduled day off, and they know in advance how shorthanded they are. And, you know, they've made the schedule, and they know that they've got, say, 3 holes to fill. They have to wait for approval from downtown to place someone in those spots. So I'll be going along thinking I have Thursday off, and Wednesday afternoon as I'm walking out the door, there's a note on my time card that says I'm working tomorrow. And I didn't volunteer. Let's make that clear. So, thanks.
Any other questions? All right. This was all very, very compelling, and we really appreciate all of you who, in addition to working such incredibly long hours, making sure that we get the service at our doorsteps, that you came here to present on top of all of that. So we're done with the Q&A portion. Now we're going to jump into a little more testimony. We've got 3 or 4 additional people to present, and then we'll have Jim Cook come back to wrap up, and then we're going to take a couple more questions, and then we will break to come back, and then come back with our findings. We next bring up Kevin Card, who will discuss fixing the finances of the Postal Service.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out tonight to hear what's going on in our job. My name is Kevin Card, and for 26 years I've had the best job in America. I've been a letter carrier for the US Postal Service. Right? You know, I have the ability to make a relationship with people in a community over my lifetime. I watch children grow up. It's truly an honorable position when you're not overworked. Okay? Yeah. Postal employees deliver over 580 million pieces of mail to 151 million homes and businesses every single day. Since 1982, the U.S. Postal Service has been a self-supporting government agency that uses no taxpayer money. I'm going to repeat that, okay? Since 1982, the U.S. Postal Service has been a self-supporting government agency that has used no taxpayer dollars to run. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that for some reason we still are part of the federal budget. Okay? Last year the Postal Service reportedly lost about $8 billion. Okay? Most of those losses, though, are due to a 2006 congressional mandate to fund the future retirement health care costs of postal employees, some of whom haven't even been hired yet, to the tune of about $5.5 billion a year. Okay? No other government agency has to do this. No private company is required to do this. So how has the Postal Service responded to this new mandate? Well, they want to close over 2,000 post offices and eliminate Saturday delivery. Postal employees are not looking for a bailout, okay? The $40 billion that ratepayers have already dedicated to this future retiree health care costs will cover all of our retiree health care needs for the next 20 years. On top of that, the Postal Service's own watchdog, the Office of Inspector General, has reported that postal ratepayers have overfunded other postal employee retirement accounts by over $50 billion. Now, it reminds me of Everett Dirksen, a billionaire, billionaire, pretty soon you're talking real money, right? And that's what it is. So, we need to make the distinction between where the Postal Service is and where the rest of the government is, okay? We hear a lot of stuff about budget deficits and stuff. The Postal Service, all that money, that extra money that they're paying into the extra funds, there's no taxpayer money. It's all ratepayers, okay? It's people who put a stamp on an envelope. It's the magazine mailers. It's all the direct mailers that we have. Those are the folks who put that money in there, okay? Anyone saying the Postal Service is looking for a bailout, and we will hear that from this new Republican Congress, is flat out lying. So what do? If Congress eliminates the mandate, we can keep your local post office open and continue to deliver 6 days a week. You can call your congressman and tell him to end the 2006 mandate. Refund the overpayment of ratepayer funds in our retirement accounts. Hire the unemployed. Yeah. And that's on us, brothers and sisters, put service back in the Postal Service. Let me add one more thing. Union members across the country are under assault and being blamed for budget deficits. My brothers and sisters in Wisconsin are on the front lines of that right now. The US Postal Service is using the exact same tactic. Okay? They're taking this budget deficit that was created by Congress to say, hey, our problem is high labor costs. Why? Because every major union has negotiations right now. The clerks, the mail handlers, the rural carriers are doing it this year. Letter carriers will be, or started it last year, letter carriers will at the end of this year. What's that done? It's got your local letter carriers, clerks, and mail handlers at risk, working long hours in understaffed offices. This is your Postal Service. We work for you. So help us set the record straight so we can continue to deliver for America like we've done for 235 years. All right.
Thank you, Kevin. Next up, Willie Grushel, talking about new products and services.
Thank you very much. My name is Willie Groeschel, and I'm a letter carrier in the city of Newburgh, Oregon. I, like most of my fellow postal employees, am very honored to have the opportunity to serve the American public every day. I'm very proud of being a part of the long history and tradition of tying this nation together and of making the quality of life better for everybody in this nation. And this is important to all of us. And I, luckily, have got the privilege of actually talking about something fun and upbeat for once up here. I get to talk about the future of the United States Postal Service and where we need to go to maintain this service that the nation needs on a daily basis. I'm here to talk about the future, and the future of our service lies with service and sustainability for this great nation. Our organization's got amazing strengths. You can't compare them anywhere else. We have service that goes to every single home, every single address in the entire country. This is what's known as our last mile delivery network. Nothing else even comes close to comparing to this network, and you can't put a value on what this does for the American public. As well, we have a building, a local government building in every community, large and small in this country. These could be utilized in many more ways to be more efficient and provide more services to people too. As well, we have the largest fleet of vehicles in the country, and we, most importantly, have got a dedicated workforce to use all of these tools to take advantage and provide this outstanding service and sustainability as we go forward. Now, let me give you a few examples of ways we could use these strengths moving forward. Take our fleet of vehicles. Why don't we modernize these vehicles? If we made these a fleet of vehicles that consisted of vehicles using electricity and alternate fuels, we could reduce the environmental impact and therefore provide a service to the air we breathe, the life that we live in. On top of that, we would also eliminate hundreds of millions of dollars of costs that we have every year just for the fuel alone. As well, these postal vehicles could be equipped with sensors. sensors that detect air quality, sensors that give feedback as to local weather patterns and changes, sensors that could even detect biological threats in the air. And all of this would just create yet more service and sustainability to this great nation of ours. Let's go back to the buildings now, the post office buildings. We've got them all over the place. Year after year, the United States Postal Service is voted as the most trusted government agency. There's no denying that. We're the face of the government to most of this country. Most people know their letter carriers, know their window clerks as being the representative that's out there. So why don't we expand what we do with these buildings in every community? We already do passports, we already do money orders. Why don't we have access to licensing, park passes, forms, information? Why isn't all of this available at every post office in every city around the country? On top of that, we happen to have one of the largest computer networks in the entire country. Why don't we make this accessible to the public as well? We could have internet kiosks in every city. We could have access to digital currency for people that are unbanked or underbanked so that they could complete transactions in this digital age. We could become a secure portal for financial transactions in every single town across the USA. Most towns and cities don't have any other federal government building, but they do have a post office. Let's go to the last mile network. This covers everything. This is a big deal. We could use this to benefit both our customers and the organization tremendously. Let me start out with some simple ideas. Why don't we provide shipping for beer and wine, for example? We already have the tools in place to do this. We have restricted delivery. If something gets sent restricted delivery, the person receiving the package signs for the package and must show valid ID, which would be positive proof of age that they're of age to receive the shipment. This would provide a lot of business for us, and this would serve, especially here in Oregon with all of our brew pubs and wineries we've got, this would provide an outstanding service and give all these businesses another avenue to the good, reliable service that they've come to count on from the United States Postal Service. As well, we could, sorry, I lost my track here. We could provide the service of checking in on people's loved ones when they're out of town. We could send people a message every single day, letting them know, send it either to their email or directly to their cell phone, letting them know how everything is at home. This would enable, especially senior citizens, to stay home longer safely in their home, even though their children might be living far away. We could take over the census duties. We already go to every house in the country, so why not take over that and save the federal government millions, if not billions of dollars by doing that as well. Make vote by mail nationwide. We've seen the success here in Oregon. Not only is it successful, but it provides a hard copy of everybody's votes to be recounted in the case of any close election issue. And now I know I'm out of time, so I'm going to throw out a couple of crazy future ideas, but the technology already exists for every single one of them. In fact, some of them aren't crazy at all. I don't know why we aren't doing them right now. Our scanners should provide real-time notification of delivery. They should be able to download from our truck instead of having to wait until the end of the day so people know where their packages are throughout the workday that they've sent and are waiting to receive. We could do same-day delivery of essential items like prescription drugs. Local drugstores could receive a prescription that day, send in an electronic notification to the Postal Service. That could then be sent to the letter carrier that's going to go to that address, and it will pick up that prescription from the pharmacy. We're already going to both the pharmacy and the house anyway. Pick it up, drop it off with that day's mail. That's premium service. And as well, our scanners should have the ability to take payment and print out postage. If you get stuck behind the 8 ball and you've got something you got to get out, why can't we do that for you right there on the spot? Anyway, I'm out of time. So much is possible as long as we adapt to provide better service and sustainability for this great nation. Thank you very much.
Very, very interesting testimony. Thank you for those great ideas. Next up, we're going to talk about the Postal Service and the common good. Would you please welcome Father Bob Kruger.
I'm
Bob Kruger. I am a retired Catholic pastor, and assigned part-time now to St. Francis of Assisi Church. I'm going to talk about the common good tonight. I think I'm being a little redundant after hearing all the good testimony here. But the Postal Service is one of those institutions that serves the common good. And it's been doing it for over 200 years. It has been providing for communication and information needs of residents of our country, regardless of location, at a cost affordable for all. And this is an important public good. That it might be placed in jeopardy should be, it seems to me, a matter of concern for every citizen. Most of us probably have not fully appreciated the extent of the public benefit offered by the Postal Service. We are aware of how regular universal delivery of letters and packages benefit all of us, especially low-income people, the elderly, and people and businesses in rural and people and businesses in rural and remote locations, all of whom receive through the mail access to necessary goods and services. We are also aware of how we are linked socially through the Postal Service by correspondence, including greeting, condolence, thank you, and congratulatory cards. However, we may not have considered how, through the postal system, our democracy is strengthened by voter registration, voter manuals, absentee balloting, in some states, voting by mail. Also, the reception of information and opinion necessary for political debate from mailed periodicals, newsletters, and audiovisual materials. The Postal Service offers the broadest opportunity for the dissemination of free expression by individuals and groups. It also provides the means by which all persons and households can interact with the government. The Postal Service also benefits local communities. It has an important role in reestablishing contact with the population after a natural disaster or civil defense emergency. Mail carriers contribute to the safety and security of neighborhoods by observing and reporting abnormal and suspicious situations. They are also a source of contact for isolated and homebound people, and collectively they are a highly respected symbol of the federal government in service of the people. The only such symbol most people encounter with regularity. Also, the Postal Service pays its workers a family wage, thereby offering an example of just compensation to other employers. Furthermore, through service and presence to our communities, the US Postal Service is an institution that contributes strongly to the holding together of our nation. Its presence resists the erosion of common public benefit that has occurred in our country in a period of excessive individualism, deregulation, privatization, and short-sighted decisions for adapting to technological change. However, the service of the common good by the Postal Service has already suffered erosion. And we've heard that tonight. In recent years, because of administrative decisions affecting changes of policy, these decisions have also degraded the working conditions of the postal workers. These changes of policy seem to me to indicate a movement away from a social benefit model to a corporate model that values computer-generated numbers over people, or and that is the people's and the workers' real needs. So
So in my opinion, this movement needs to be resisted by the American people. And to this end, I hope all communities will hold meetings like our gathering this evening.
Thank you, Father Bob. Next, we're going to have some statements read on behalf of Secretary of State Kate Brown.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Josh Goldberg. I'm here representing Oregon Secretary of State Kate Brown. She's asked me to read a letter, and here it is. Dear friends, thank you so much for the invitation to speak with you tonight. Although I could not join you in person, I wanted to make sure that you all know how strongly I support the work that you do. As your Secretary of State, I oversee Oregon's elections process. We are still the only state in the nation that is all vote by mail, though Washington is not far behind. Your work is critical to the success of vote by mail. You ensure that it is timely and accessible and secure for Oregonians. We know Oregonians love vote by mail because of the high turnout. For example, in the last 3 presidential cycles, that's 2000, 2004, and 2008, the average voter turnout rate was 83%, a full 6 percentage points higher than the last 3 elections held in polling places. While these numbers are quite impressive, I'm most encouraged by our turnout in Oregon's rural counties. Nearly all of our rural counties reported above state average in turnout in recent elections. I firmly believe these high turnout rates are directly correlated to using the convenient and accessible US Postal Service. Your efforts also ensure the timely delivery of voter pamphlet statements and ballots. And whether it's making sure the voters' pamphlets get out to all Oregon households or scurrying along to get voted ballots into the hands of elected elections officials, it's your enthusiasm and dedication that makes all the difference. I was really impressed by what I saw last May on primary election day. I personally watched postal employees breaking a sweat, making sure that to collect all ballots turned in by the 8 p.m. deadline. As the person who won her first race to the Oregon House by 7 votes, it is clear each and every one of you understands the importance of every single vote. Part of my mission as Secretary of State is to engage all Oregonians in the political process. Any delays or cuts in service will hinder these efforts. Last year, the Postal Service proposed to cut Saturday service in an effort to save money. I adamantly oppose these cuts and traveled to Washington, D.C. to testify against them in front of the United States Postal Regulatory Commission. Any changes to the accessibility of mail service would negatively affect Oregonians' ability to vote by hampering both timely receipt and return of ballots. These changes would be harsh particularly for those living in rural communities. I am confident that we have one of the best, most secure and convenient voting system in the nation. Part of this success is due to the people here in this room, those who deliver ballots to voters and collect them to be counted by our county clerks. We couldn't do it without you. Please let me know what I can do to continue to support your work and service to the state and our nation. I appreciate your hard work and cherish the partnership that we have established in making Oregon a great place to live and a great place to vote. Thank you for your time, Madam Secretary.
Nice job, Josh. That's Josh Goldberg, everybody. All right, we are now in the wrap-up phase before we have another round of questions and answers. We will now bring up National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 82 President Jim Cook.
Thank you all. First of all, on behalf of Letter Carriers Branch 82, it is my honor to thank you all for being here tonight. So thank you. And let's have a big hand for our panel who has also been here. And these events don't happen on their own. Margaret Butler, Executive Director of Portland Jobs of Justice. Thank you, Margaret. And the Workers' Rights Board Committee, Brother Jamie Partridge, our Chair of our Branch 82 Organizing Committee, the committee. Thank you all for putting so much work into this effort. Because this is important. The Postal Service has been around since Benjamin Franklin. He started it, and what we want to do is continue it well into the 21st century. We've been called a dinosaur, but we're still living. So we're going to keep it living. That's what we're here about today, is to bring it to the community, one community at a time. We Oregonians are pioneers. We're pioneers in justice. We want to make sure that justice occurs in this state. But also, we're pioneers in social service, and that's where the Gatekeeper, the senior safety program, started up in the Northwest, where letter carriers and other service people look out for seniors. That's very important. Well, we lost our Carrier Link program, which is specific to the Postal Service, because management could not guarantee we would have regular carriers on the routes. So we have lost things already, but we don't want to lose more. We want to keep the Postal Service together. You've heard many ideas today about the long-term career hiring freeze, the understaffing and its adverse impact on customer service, working conditions, and morale. You've heard how we can fix the financial problems of the Postal Service. You've heard personal testimony on the importance of Postal Service to our fellow citizens, daily commerce, with our nationwide universal system. You've heard ideas of how the Postal Service can remain viable even with private delivery competition, even with digital diversion of communication. However, we must hold postal management accountable. Yeah. We must. I am very pleased to say that we have testimony, 6 pages, so you won't hear it tonight. But it was Ruth Goldway, who is the chair of the Postal Regulatory Commission. And she testified before Congress, similar to Secretary of State Kate Brown testifying before the Postal Regulatory Commission. Ruth Goldway said, and this was March 2nd of last year, the Postal Service presented to the nation its vision for the future of our postal system that I find very troubling. In a litany of problems and worst-case scenarios, it estimates that there will be a cumulative financial loss of $238 billion by the year 2020 if no changes are made. What is the Postal Service response to these losses? In 2 words, it is reduced service. The basic outcome of all these ideas is that there may be less mail and less Postal Service, and that those who rely exclusively on the mail, the elderly, the poor, rural American, those who cannot or will not connect to the internet may suffer the most. Even more troubling, its plan stops at the year 2020. I have provided you with her testimony, and we appreciate again this opportunity to have a Workers' Rights Board hearing to discuss the future of the Postal Service and the current conditions, but we all must stay informed. And it's ironic that I would ask you to go online, but that is a great source of information about the Postal Service, and you can find at the Letter Carriers Union, NALC.org, that's NALC.org, also postalnews.com, one word, postalnews.com, and USPS.com. Again, thank you everyone. Thank you for making this Workers' Rights Board hearing on the crisis facing the U.S. Postal Service a success in many ways, but there's a lot of work to continue to be done. So we ask you to stick around. We have a video, a little bit of discussion while our panel will deliberate. So at this point, we're going to have a little bit of setup time. And again, thank you, panel members, for being here tonight.
Back. The next portion of tonight's festivities will be, we will hear from each of the different Workers' Rights Board members, and then we will, then I will fuse what they have to say, and we'll then discuss our recommendations and proceed from there. So, John, would you like to begin?
I appreciate everything that's been said here today. It's been very informative for me. I've heard complaints, and it seems like there's a lot of reasons for complaining about what's going on, but I heard something else. I heard a positive sense of the future and people wanting the opportunity to build something new, and I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming out and being part of my education on this issue. What I heard was disturbing. It angered me. It made me want to tell other people because I didn't know this, and I feel like I'm a pretty informed person. It also made me feel, as a teacher, that we're all kind of part of the same thing. In high schools next year in Portland, I've been told that class sizes will average 1 teacher for 40 students per class, and that's an average. And so I think that we experience what's going on in our society individually, but it's actually a collective phenomenon. But like John, you know, I was really inspired by the sense of hope and the vision of an alternative that has come out of what people have described here. And I just found it really inspiring and would like that to I'd like to have more people be able to hear what we heard tonight. So thank you all again, and I really appreciate it.
I too want to express my appreciation for all the compelling testimonies, especially from the family members, because I just want to let you know that we see your family members in their job as Postal Service as part of our community. Being part of our community, it's like that woven thread. We see our neighbors moving in and out, some to foreclosure, some to gentrification. But when we see our community members moving out of our community, and in my house, for example, being identified as a vacant route, what does that say to me as a citizen, a community member, and to my family? The question I was going to ask before we closed was, there were some great ideas, hopes and dreams expressed at the end. Where's management? To hear these wonderful thoughts and ideas, to hear the stories of what it is creating for these dedicated, committed, and individuals of integrity who provide the services on a daily basis, especially to those workers who don't have health care. I just want to leave you with this message. I heard you, I'm there with you, I support you, and I love you.
I think what I learned from this whole process was how troubling some of the management practices were that I had no idea were going on, and how you can, with a straight face, call somebody transitional when they've been transitioning for 3 years. It seems pretty absurd. But what I also saw was what Bill alluded to, was that sense of hope, that we were not here to just complain, but we have some great ideas for the future. And the other thing that I confirmed is what an important piece of connection letter carriers are for our community. So I just wanted to say that I learned so much tonight. I thank you all for your testimony, and I want you to know that we're with you. And I'm very sincere when I make that statement. Thank you.
I too would like to thank you all for coming. I appreciated your stories, and I'd like to think our community is with you. As a business person, I find it pretty appalling the way the post office, the Postal Service operates. You know, this is just an incredible waste of human potential. You have a loyal workforce.
got a workforce that's committed, that wants to make, you know, their business better. You know, it's a dream for an employer. I can't believe that they're missing this opportunity. And on a personal note, I grew up in a small town downriver in Columbia County, and we had 2 people working in our post office there. It was the center of our community, and it was a community that, and the postmaster, you know, one of those two people in the office there, he did everything in town, it seemed like, and he ran the fire department, sort of, you know, he ran the truck, the rescue truck. We didn't have ambulances. And as a young 16-year-old who lost control of his car in a patch of ice one night, it was him who pulled a truck, or a van off of me and got me breathing, you know, and saved my life. I think that there's probably, you know, 1 million stories in small communities all over this country of letter carriers, postal workers who've done the same thing. You all are an integral part of this community, as they are all over the country. And I'd like to think that we can treat postal workers a lot better than letter carriers. Thank you for your testimony.
Of course, I get to go last, so a lot of the things I would say have already been said, but thank you all again for coming up. Coming here tonight, for those of you who testified, I know it's not easy often to come up in front of a large group of people and tell your story. The things that I learned tonight, I mean, it's disturbing me to hear the difference between, you know, the polls that show that American people have such high trust in the post office and consider it such a public good, but at the same time, there's people who are in decision-making positions at the top, or, you know, congressional actions in the past, that are seeing this as just another agency to try to shrink to the size that they can drown it in a bathtub, and then maybe somebody else will pick up the place and make profits off of what is a public good. So that's something that we will definitely be putting into our report, is you know, addressing these issues, making the post office once again maybe a paragon, a good example of what a good employer really should be, as it was in the past. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
So my task now is to read to you the recommendations that we deliberated upon and agreed upon. And I will read those, and then shortly thereafter we will have Margaret Butler and Jim Cook come back up to close and make a call to action. Recommendations. Number 1, the Workers' Rights Board panel will request a meeting with US Postal Service management from the local, regional, and national level in order to communicate the following. 1, the details of the testimony that we heard and the conclusions we have drawn from that testimony, and our recommendations that will include that US Postal Service management restore customer service and improve working conditions by fully staffing Portland area postal facilities. And do that through the hiring of career letter carriers and clerks and other measures designed to improve service.
Yeah.
We also would like to convey to management that we were very troubled by the lack of public input in the closure of branches, and that really jumped out at us that has to change. If we're getting 7 days notice in the community on a branch closure, that just can't stand anymore. And so we want to have much more public participation in the process there. And also that we would recommend that management look to the workers for maximizing the true business potential of the Postal Service. Going on. Additionally, the Workers' Rights Board will write letters to the U.S. congressional delegation from the Portland area and to the President of the United States in order to communicate our conclusions. Number 3, the Workers' Rights Board will issue a report from this hearing. And number 4, the Workers' Rights Board will distribute our report and recommendations to the local media, local elected officials, and the community to help educate the public about the crisis facing the Postal Service and to encourage public support for the U.S. Postal Service and community dialogue with postal management, the postal unions, and Congress about local and national solutions to this crisis. 5, the Workers' Rights Board encourages local community organizations, neighborhood association, and government bodies to pass resolutions supporting these and other recommendations to restore customer service and working conditions and to improve the U.S. Postal Service. And those are our final recommendations. So again, on behalf of the panel, Bill, would you
I just wanted to, those of you who wrote your testimony, if you could get that, Jim, is it okay, could we get the testimony to you? Because it would be great as long as much of that is in writing, to have that when we write our final report. That would be wonderful. Thanks.
Absolutely. And we'll now bring up Margaret Butler of Jobs with Justice and Jim Cook to take us home.
Thank you again. Thank you again to all of you for participating, and of course our panel. We can't thank you enough, actually. We've been like a bad dream where you're trying to say something and you can't say it. Well, tonight you listened. You heard us. And we're your letter carriers, we're your postal workers, and we thank you for being here and taking the time. We do have a call to action. We have petitions. We love petitions, right? Hard copy. We can mail them back to our congressmen and our senators. We can mail it to the president and the Postal Board of Governors and the Postmaster General. So that's what we plan to do, is to continue this struggle. And I thank you again on behalf of the Letter Carriers Union.
Just 2 additions. One is, if you're with an organization and you would like letter carriers to come and make a presentation, please sign up. Jamie has sign-up sheets in the back there, and we will send people out to tell this story to organizations. The other thing I want to say is that this really is a crisis for working class people in every walk of life, all over our community and all over our country. So this is just one piece of many, many people in struggle right now. Jobs with Justice is going to be trying to bring a lot of those struggles together this spring. We found out that there were at least 7 or 8 contracts expiring on June 30th this year, where people are going to be fighting against take-backs, give-backs, all that kind of thing. And so we're going to try and create a convergence of all of those struggles connected to the job crisis that our communities are facing. So look for all that coming. And we're looking also at probably another solidarity action with Wisconsin this week. So check out the website, and we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you so much for coming, for caring about workers in your community. We're really glad you're here.